And now it's time for our Sunday segment. At this time, Meet the Candidates.
Our political system, in my opinion, has been institutionally corrupted by the power of money. We have a tax code that's 4,000 pages long, and you can't read it. We have a budget that's out of balance for the rest of our lives.
Well, that's Buddy Roemer, a prospective Republican candidate for president. He's a former four-term congressman, governor of Louisiana, who's been crisscrossing the nation by bus, sounding the warning, as you just heard, about government spending. And he joins us now from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Governor, welcome. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday morning.
It's good to be here in the land of the rising water.
Well, we hope the water doesn't rise too much. And one thing you've been talking about on the campaign trail is the rising budget and the deficits. You won the State House by promising to, quote, scrub the budget. Is that what you say our nation needs now?
In part. I mean, the real issue is prosperity. I think what Americans want is to compete and win again. In the last 12 years, we've lost 1 million jobs. 9% of the people are unemployed. 2.5% have quit looking. 15% are working in jobs that are part-time. We've got 26% of our people in this country in the 21st century who don't have full-time work, who are unhappy and can't find a job. And what's our government doing about it? The president went to Wall Street last week. These are the guys that put us into this dump, and had a fundraiser at $35,000 a ticket from the same people whose greed and unthoughtfulness put us in this hole. I think we've got some things to do, and scrubbing the budget is just one of them.
Where would you start?
I think the president ought to here's what I would do the first day. I think the president should rescind all new federal regulations on small business that have been put on since January 1st, 2008. Very specifically, we're killing small business. That's $100 billion yoke he could take off their neck. You know, I'm old enough to remember 2005, 2004, 2003. We were doing pretty good as a nation then, and we didn't have these regulations. Take them off, Mr. President. That would be the first step. The second step would be to have a small committee appointed by the president on fair trade. I think our trading partners, so-called in the world, are taking advantage of us. We're suckers. We're letting the Chinese, the Japanese, and others play us for suckers. They talk fair trade, they talk free trade, but it doesn't exist. Mr. President, find out why not. Number 3, we ought to be energy independent by the end of the decade. The president flips and flops on this. I see this morning in the New York Times, he's talking about allowing drilling again. Thanks a lot, Mr. President. When you took office, the price of a gallon of gas was $1.86. Today, it's $4 plus. Good job, Mr. President. We had one blowout in the Gulf of Mexico out of 75,000 wells, and he stopped all drilling for 1 year. We ought to drill cleanly, wisely, and well, but we ought to be energy independent. I would do it by the end of this decade. Very specifically. You know how many new jobs that will create in America? 5 million.
But
I would tariff oil.
How realistic is this?
Oil. It's very realistic. I didn't say overnight. We have supplies of natural gas in this country that we haven't even touched. We have plenty of places to drill in this country cleanly and efficiently using new technology. We haven't even touched it. We could form a partnership with Mexico and Canada on oil and energy and have the North American energy domestic sphere. And we would tell the Middle East that we're going to put a tariff on your oil. And by the end of this decade, you will not be sending oil to America, and will not be sending our Marines to the Middle East to protect your oil. It means jobs. By the way, the tariffs would create billions of dollars in revenue, and I would use all that to pay down the national debt. I mean, I can go on. Scrubbing the budget, tax reform, a new health reform bill. I'm a diabetic. I'm a patient. We ought to have a bill centered on patients and doctors, not on insurance companies and hospitals.
All right, Governor.
We need to turn this country.
All right, we're going to have to go, but finally, you have an exploratory committee. Do we expect an announcement?
Yes.
Are you going to Iowa? What is next for you? You haven't really blipped in the polls yet. How do you get up there?
You know what I've been doing for the last 20 years? I haven't been in politics. I've been building community banks. I've been very fortunate. We've been profitable, successful, and we didn't take one dime of federal money. I know America can win. I know we can do it. I am not known yet, but when I get through in New Hampshire and South Carolina and Iowa and going across this country, I think we'll have a chance to turn this country around.
All right, there is the promise and the platform from Buddy Roemer, who's going to be on his way to Iowa, and we'll wait for your announcement. And Governor, thank you for joining us and letting our viewers see your platform.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
And giving us some insight this morning. Thank you, sir.